Tefillin, also called phylacteries, are a set of small black leather boxes containing scrolls of parchment inscribed with verses from the Torah, which are worn by observant Jews during weekday morning prayers. Although tefillin is technically the plural form, it is loosely used as a singular as well. The arm tefillin, or shel yad, is placed on the upper arm, and the strap wrapped around the arm, hand and fingers, while the head tefillin, or shel rosh, is placed above the forehead. The Torah commands that they should be worn to serve as a sign and remembrance that God brought the children of Israel out of Egypt. The scriptural texts for tefillin are obscure in literal meaning. For example, Deuteronomy chapter 11 verse 18 is one of the standard texts referenced as supporting the obligation, but does not designate what specifically to bind upon your arm, and the definition of totafot between your eyes is not obvious. It is the Talmud, the authoritative oral tradition for Rabbinic Judaism, which explains what had to be bound to the body in the form of tefillin. Biblical source: the obligation of tefillin, as expounded by the oral law, is mentioned 4 times in the Torah, twice when recalling the exodus from Egypt. And it shall be for a sign for you upon your hand, and for a memorial between your eyes, that the law of the Lord may be in your mouth, for with a strong hand did the Lord bring you out of Egypt. Exodus chapter 13 verse 9. And it shall be for a sign upon your hand, and as totafot between your eyes, for with a mighty hand did the Lord bring us forth out of Egypt. Exodus chapter 13 verse 16, and twice in the Shema passages. And you shall bind them as a sign upon your arm, and they shall be as totafot between your eyes. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 8. You shall put these words of mine on your heart and on your soul, and you shall tie them for a sign upon your arm, and they shall be as totafot between your eyes. Deuteronomy chapter 11 verse 18. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 9. Etymology: the ultimate origin of Hebrew tefillin is uncertain. The word tefillin is not found in the Bible, which calls them totafot. The Septuagint renders totafot sigma alpha lambda epsilon upsilon tau omicron nu, something immovable. Some believe it refers to a charm, similar to the Hebrew netafort. Roundjul, the Talmud explains that the word totafot is a combination of 2 foreign words. Tot means two in the Caspi language, and fot means two in the Afriki language. Hence tot and fot means 2 and 2, corresponding to the 4 compartments of the head tefillin. Menachem ben Saruk explains that the word is derived from the Hebrew vehatif and tatifu, both expressions meaning speech. For when one sees the tefillin, it causes him to remember and speak about the exodus from Egypt. The first texts to use tefillin are the Targumim and Peshitta, and it is also used in subsequent Talmudic literature. Although the word totafa was still current, being used with the meaning of frontlet, tefillin may have derived from the Aramaic palil, to plead, pray, a word closely related to the Hebrew tefillah, prayer. Jacob ben Asher suggests that tefillin is derived from the Hebrew pelila, justice. Evidence for tefillin act as a sign and proof of God's presence among the Jewish people. The only instance of the name of phylacteries in ancient times occurs once in the Greek New Testament, whence it has passed into the languages of Europe. Phylacteries derives from the Greek phylacterion phi epsilon lambda alpha kappa tau eta rho iota omicron nu, defenses, and in late Greek, amulets, or charms. Neither Aquila nor Symmachus use the word phylacteries. Purpose: the tefillin are to serve as a reminder of God's intervention at the time of the exodus from Egypt. Maimonides details of the sanctity of tefillin and writes that, as long as the tefillin are on the head and on the arm of a man, he is modest and God-fearing and will not be attracted by hilarity or idle talk. He will have no evil thoughts. but will devote all his thoughts to truth and righteousness. The Sefer HaChinuch adds that the purpose of Tefillin is to help subjugate a person's worldly desires and encourage spiritual development. Joseph Caro explains that tefillin are placed on the arm adjacent to the heart and on the head above the brain to demonstrate that these two major organs are willing to perform the service of God. Many have the custom to have high-quality tefillin and beautiful tefillin bags as a hiddur mitzvah. This idea comes from the verse, "This is my God and I will glorify him." The Jewish sages explain, is it possible for a human being to add glory to his Creator? What this really means is, I shall glorify him in the way I perform mitzvot. I shall prepare before him a beautiful lulav, beautiful sukkah, beautiful fringes, and beautiful phylacteries, manufacture and contents. The manufacturing process of both the boxes and the parchment scrolls are intricate and governed by hundreds of detailed rules. In earlier Talmudist times, tefillin were either cylindrical or cubical, but later the cylindrical form became obsolete. They are made in varying levels of quality. The most basic form, called peshutim, are made using several pieces of parchment to form the inner walls of the head tefillin. The higher quality tefillin, namely dakat, made by stretching a thin piece of leather, and the more durable gusset are both fashioned from the single piece of hide. Black leather straps pass through the rear of the base and are used to secure the tefillin onto the body. On both sides of the head tefillin, the Hebrew letter shin is molded. The knot of the head tefillin strap forms the letter dalet or double dalet, while the strap that is passed through the arm tefillin is formed into a knot in the shape of the letter yud. These three letters spell Shaddai, one of the names of God. Parchment scrolls for biblical passages which refer to the tefillin are placed inside the leather boxes. These are, "Sanctify to me, when YHWH brings you, hear, O Israel," and, "If you observe my commandments." They are written by a scribe with special ink on parchment scrolls. The Hebrew Ashuri script must be used, and there are three main styles of lettering used. Beis Yosef, generally used by Ashkenazim; Arizal, generally used by Hasidim; Velish, used by Sephardim. The passages contain 3,188 letters, usually take between 10 to 15 hours to complete. The arm tefillin has one large compartment, which contains all four biblical passages written upon a single strip of parchment. The head tefillin has four separate compartments, in each of which one scroll of parchment is placed. There was considerable discussion among the commentators of the Talmud as to the order in which the scrolls should be inserted into the four compartments of the head tefillin. In the Middle Ages, a famous debate on the issue was recorded between Rashi and his grandson Rabbeinu Tam. Rashi held that the passages are placed according to the chronological order as they appear in the Torah. Kiddush li, v'hayaki yevietcha, Shema, v'hayarim shemoah, while according to Rabbeinu Tam, the last two passages are switched around. Sets of tefillin dating from the 1st century CE discovered at Qumran in the Judean desert revealed that some were made according to the order understood by Rashi and others in the order of Rabbeinu Tam. The prevailing custom is to arrange the scrolls according to Rashi's view, but some pious Jews are also accustomed to briefly lay the tefillin of Rabbeinu Tam as well, a custom of the Ari adopted by the Hasidim. The placement of the protrusion of a tuft of the sinew identifies as to which opinion the tefillin were written. The Vilna Gaon, who wore the tefillin of Rashi, rejected the stringency of also laying Rabbeinu Tam, pointing out that there were 64 permutations for the arrangement of the tefillin scrolls. Obligation. The duty of laying tefillin rests upon males after the age of 13 years. Although women are exempt from the obligation, some early codifiers allowed them to do so. Moses Isserles, however, strongly discourages it. Historically, the mitzvah of tefillin was not performed by women, but the ritual was apparently kept by some women in medieval France and Germany. Traditions exist of some prominent women laying tefillin, and the idea is gaining a following among women affiliated to the conservative movement. In 2013, Saudi Reals High School in Riverdale, New York, began allowing girls to wrap tefillin during Shacharit morning prayer. It is probably the first modern Orthodox high school in the U.S. to do so. Others who are not obliged to lay tefillin include a mourner during the first day of his mourning period, and a bridegroom on his wedding day, a sufferer from stomach trouble, or one who is otherwise in pain and cannot concentrate his mind is also exempt. One who is engaged in the study of the law, and scribes of dealers in tefillin and mezuzot while engaged in their work if it cannot be postponed, are also free from this obligation. The codes view the commandment of tefillin as important and call those who neglect to observe it transgressors. Maimonides counts the commandment of laying the arm tefillin and head tefillin as two separate positive mitzvot. The Talmud cites Rav Sheshet, who said that by neglecting the precept, one transgresses 8 positive commandments. A report of widespread laxity in its observance is reported by Moses of Cusi in 13th century Spain. It may have arisen from the fear of persecution, similar to what had occurred to the Jews living in the land of Israel under Roman rule in the 2nd century. Performance. Originally tefillin were worn all day, but not during the night. Nowadays the prevailing custom is to wear them only during the weekday morning service, although some individuals wear them at other times during the day as well. Tefillin are not donned on Shabbat and the major festivals because these holy days are themselves considered signs which render the need of the sign of tefillin superfluous. On Chal Hamoed Pesach and Sukkot, there is a great debate among the early halachic authorities as to whether tefillin should be worn or not. Those who forbid it consider the sign of intermediate days as having the same status as the festival itself, making the ritual of tefillin redundant. Others argue and hold that Chal Hamoed does not constitute a sign, in which case tefillin must be laid. 3 customs evolved resulting from the dispute to refrain from wearing tefillin. This ruling of the Shulchan Aruch is based on Kabbalah and the Zohar, which strongly advocate refraining from laying tefillin on Chal Hamoed. This position is maintained by Sephardic Jews and is also the opinion of the Vilna Gaon, whose ruling has been universally accepted in Israel, to wear tefillin without reciting the blessings. This is the opinion of, among others, Jacob ben Asher, Moses of Cusi and David Halevi Siegel. The advantage of this compromise is that one avoids the transgressions of either not donning tefillin or making a blessing in vain. To wear tefillin and recite the blessings in an undertone. This opinion, based on Maimonides, is the ruling of Moses Isler, who writes that, this is the universally accepted practice among Ashkenazic Jews. In light of the conflicting opinions, the Mishnah Berurah recommends Ashkenazi make the following stipulation before donning tefillin. If I am obligated to don tefillin, I intend to fulfill my obligation, and if I am not obligated to don tefillin, my doing so should not be considered as fulfilling any obligation, and that the blessing not be recited. On the fast day of Tisha B'Av, tefillin are not worn in the morning, as tefillin are considered an adornment, symbols of beauty, which is deemed inappropriate for a day of mourning. They are worn instead at the afternoon minha service. There are those, however, who have a custom on Tisha B'Av to privately put on tefillin at home and pray privately, say the Amidah and take off the tefillin and go to synagogue to finish the prayers. How to put on tefillin. Ashkenazim put on and remove the tefillin while standing, while Sephardim do so while sitting. It is forbidden to speak or be distracted while putting on the tefillin. An Ashkenazi says 2 blessings when laying tefillin, the first before he ties the arm tefillin, lehanach tefillin, and the second after placing the head tefillin, al mitzvot tefillin. Thereafter he tightens the head straps and says, Baruch Shem Kovod. The Sephardic custom is that no blessing is said for the head tefillin, the first blessing sufficing for both. Sephardim and many members of the Chabad Orthodox movement only recite the blessing on the head tefillah if they spoke about something not related to Tefillin. Since reciting the blessing on the arm tefillah procedure, the arm tefillin is laid on the inner side of the bare left arm, 2 finger breadths above the elbow, so that when the arm is bent the tefillin faces towards the heart. If one is left-handed, it is placed on the right arm in the same place. After the blessing is said, the arm tefillin is tightened, and the strap wound 7 times round the arm or 8 times. Then the head tefillin is placed on the middle of the head just above the forehead, so that no parts rests below the hairline. The knot of the head tefillin sits at the back of the head, upon the part of the occipital bone that protrudes just above the nape, directly opposite the optic chiasm. The 2 straps of the head tefillin are brought in front of the shoulders, with their blackened side facing outwards. Now the remainder of the arm tefillin straps are wound 3 times around the middle finger and around the hand to form the shape of the Hebrew letter of either a shin according to Ashkenazim, or a dalet according to Sephardim. There are various customs regarding winding the strap on the arm and hand. In fact, the arm strap is looped for counterclockwise wrapping with Ashkenazi tefillin, while it is knotted for clockwise wrapping with Sephardic and Chabad tefillin. On removing the tefillin, the steps are reversed. Biblical passages.